Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I can see a little bit of a cloudiness on the screen. So let me clean this lens for a bit. Sorry about this. Aha, that's better. Now that we are bright and shiny, let's see how this works. Let me just make this big. Okay, there we go. Hope you're all doing well, and thank you for asking. I'm doing okay too. Actually, all right. So what's going on? What do we have here? We have Miyamote is here, says, hello, Meran. How are you? Glad to see you. Glad to see you too as well. Thank you very much for asking. Ankur Bora says, hi, Meran, 19 male from India here. I have severe HOCD and it is to the point that it's almost convincing me, but my awareness is what that is keeping me alive and in hope. Well, you gotta go a little bit deeper into why some of you get to a point that you may think, falsely so, that you're being convinced. For that, we need to go a little bit into neuroscience. And while I'm polishing on my knowledge about this particular topic that I want to talk to you about, but because of this question, I find it necessary to share with you the little I know without having explored it further to know how to better explain it to you. So I'm going to explain it to you in a crude way, but I hope that will be enough for now until I make a specific video on that topic. You see, many of these obsessions and compulsions, and in your case, HOCD, which is a subset of OCD, many of these obsessions and compulsions in OCD topic, OCD disorder, which many people have it in different ways, in different subsets, you go for that level of awe feeling, like the compulsion, whatever your obsession is, whether it's pure awe, as Dr. Phillipson explains, pure awe being an OCD without a physical action, it's mental, it's all thoughts and intrusive thoughts and all these things, HOCD being one of them. That awe moment that, for example, if you have an obsession of washing your hands, that your hands are dirty, it's a compulsion would be to go wash your hands. And when you do wash your hands, to do the compulsion, what do you get? You get, I'm clean now. I feel fine. Now, that very moment that you say, I'm clean now, there's dopamine secreted because you get that feeling of comfort, good, something good is happening. And that dopamine is addictive. As you know, in midbrain, basal ganglia, striatum, there are three circles right on top of each other. One is the goal finding center, which is, for example, the situation between obsession and compulsion. My hands are dirty, I gotta wash it. That compulsion to me is that goal finding. I gotta wash it, that's my goal. But then at the same time, when you stimulate that first circle of goal finding, washing your hands, you're also stimulating the second circle, which is right on top of it, which is the reward center. The reward center is the dopamine. When you wash your hands, you feel, you get the reward. The dopamine comes in and you say, feel good. Now, so you were just thinking about doing the compulsion, but you were also unknowingly stimulating the reward center, which secretes the dopamine, which dopamine is addictive. So unknowingly, by doing every compulsion, you're getting yourself addicted to the dopamine, to the reward center actions and stimulations. Funny thing is that every time that happens, you're at the same time with that compulsion cycle, you're not just stimulating the reward center, the dopamine that becomes addictive, you're also stimulating the habit center, the third center in the striatum. They're all connected, which means after a bunch of time doing the compulsion, you're no longer doing it for compulsion, you're doing it to get the dopamine. And after hundreds and hundreds of times of doing that and getting addicted to dopamine, you're no longer doing it just for compulsion or dopamine. You're actually doing it without knowing why. It's because it's become your habit, because you've been stimulating the habit. That's why OCD of any kind subsets constantly go on and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This is why you need to nip it in the bud and try to educate yourself about OCD and OCD subset, in your case HOCD, and with knowledge to avoid this process of going from compulsion to the dopamine to the habit center and so on. Now, having said that, I want to bring your attention to this bit that I want to explain to you. When you're in the reward center, the dopamine cycle, which every time you do the compulsion, you get the dopamine. Listen to me. Dopamine receptors to get dopamine are programmed for survival. They're programmed to know that if you stimulate the pleasure centers, the is a pleasure, often and hard, the receptors for dopamine die. If you stimulate something that brings pleasure to you, this is actually a discussion about difference between pleasure and happiness, which that is what I make the video on. But it pertains, this particular can help you why you're being convinced, so you can understand, and that knowledge frees you from the fact that this is all bullshit. I'm not going to be convinced in anything because it's up to my choice and my preference, not up to the suggestions that the brain or other people may make. So getting back, meanwhile, back in the ranch, every time that you use something for pleasure, such as drugs or whatever else it may be, you are stimulating the dopamine center. And when you stimulate the receptors for dopamine, pleasure, so much and so hard and so continuously, the receptors die. In order for them not to die, they have a down regulator. Listen to this. So down regulator is when they actually become less available. So they can actually absorb less of the pleasure to react and secrete the dopamine, which means the less receptors to receive and feel the pleasure to cause dopamine to be secreted, they diminish. And when they diminish, what do you have to do to get the same effect? You got to do more. Because when there's so many receptors available and pleasure comes in, so much dopamine is secreted and you get high, whatever it is, any kind of pleasure. Now, in this case, is a drug, but it could be anything, any pleasure. It works the same way. And when you get high, and so often and so high, the receptors, dopamine receptors, they downregulate so they won't die. Because if they're stimulated often and hard, they die. For them to survive, they become restricted. They become less available to be stimulated. When it becomes less available to be stimulated, you need more of that pleasure to get the same effect, because there's not much receptors available to produce that dopamine that you need to feel pleasure and get high. This is why it keeps reducing and reducing. Every time you do more and more, the again want to survive, reduce and reduce to the point that you get addicted because you're constantly pushing that pleasure, whatever it may be, drug or whatever, to get the same effect. And that's when you get addicted. When you get addicted, then that's when you feel you're being convinced, because you need that high and you can't get it by going through intrusive thoughts in your brain and satisfying yourself. Oh no, it's okay, I just tested myself, I just got assurances, I tried and saw, no, I'm okay. All that, you need to do more and more and more. And the more you do and occupy your brain with all these thought patterns, the more eventually you become convinced in your brain, while your biology is not convinced, because the biology is not going to change. You're just going to make it through your brain power to do something that is not his biology. All because you have been constantly, instead of using Dr. Schwartz's 4 step and ignoring this shit and rewiring your brain, you've been entertaining with these assurances and assurances and assurances to get that high, to get that dopamine, and then they downregulate. You got to do more assurances, and eventually you constantly get your brain into that, and then you can't think of anything else but that. That's when you think you're being convinced. That's the fuck up the whole thing, and that's because most people don't really know shit about what's happening in their brain, and they start believing what the brain says. Well, if it wasn't that, it wouldn't be there all the time. Well, you train the brain for these thoughts to be there all the time because of this particular section that I just explained. Which, mind you, I think it was pretty good explanation. I may not do that other video because I just did. But that other video is about happiness and pleasure, which is about dopamine and serotonin, which is two different things, and explains why people who seek pleasure to bring happiness, mistakenly thinking pleasure is prelude to happiness, they actually never reach happiness, and they become addicted to something that is never going to give them that homeostasis or that psychological security that they're seeking. So that's for another time, another story. I hope that helps you out to understand why you're being convinced, and learn to deal with the HOCD the way that we describe in all the videos and Dr. Schwartz's 4 steps, and watch the many experts such as Dr. Philipson and Dr. Jan Wainert and Dr. Schwartz and their work. And I have this other video that I've already suggested to all of you to enjoy, which explains the work of the neuroscientists and neurosurgeons such as Dr. Sperry, Dr. Leibet, Dr. Penfield, Dr. Owen, and their findings, and how you can simply see that you're not the brain, brain is not you. So all these are just a conditioning that through the glitch of the brain you're subjected to, and you got to know how to deal with it, rewire yourself by using the brilliance experiments of these surgeons and these psychologists, psychotherapists, such as Dr. Schwartz and Dr. Philipson and so on, and then learn about their lectures and help yourself to rewire your brain rather than being subjected to a glitch of a brain that is in its disorder glitches, which many end up feeling so miserable. It takes them a while to get out. Knowledge will help you to get out of the shit. All right. Now, let's see. Let me, if I can find that you are not video for you. And so I can put it up. And for the ones who haven't seen it, can also watch. Well, all right, there we go. This video is a bit long, however, it's very informative for the ones who just want to have the general knowledge about what the hell is happening in such things that we're talking about. All right, I put the link up. Now we go to the next. So Anchor, I hope that was helpful to you. And Miyamoto, same for you. These are, Miyamoto says, never imagine that in my happy 18 years of life, I need to question my sexuality, which I was so sure and proud of. Well, you're still sure, nothing changes. This is suggesting something, but that has nothing to do with changing your genetics, your inclination, your programming, or your sexuality. You got to understand the role of and the power of the brain over the body, and what it suggests and it uses and manipulates the body is the way it's designed. But it doesn't mean that in actuality you're changing any way. It's like saying, I never thought that I would never pay attention to this beautiful symphony that I always enjoyed. You haven't changed. You still like the symphony, but you've been distracted with the construction noise and all other kind of noise and bus noise and traffic noise and all the hustle and bustle around, and you can't see it because so many distractions. Otherwise, nothing has changed. Distractions go away, the music's still playing, and you still love to listen to that music and relax with it. Same thing, your sexuality hasn't changed. There's so much garbage that is now trying to cause a certain kind of a disorder, which is distracting you from what it is that you're actually all about. So get the distraction away, everything else is in place. Nothing has changed. So now, and remember, the brain is designed to constantly getting all these information that is out there, and then uses that information as a basis of ingredients to make thoughts. It doesn't know what it's making. It just knows whatever comes in, I can make thoughts with it, and it does make thoughts with it. So with the all the extraordinary amount of discussion and on the topic of sexuality and all kind of other sexualities that is being talked about, and some people are talking about it constantly, that is extraordinary amount of information that's seeping through the brain, and the brain processes all that and uses to make thoughts, because its attention is going to notice all these commotions and all these propaganda and all these discussions about all these sexualities and things that is happening around the world. For some fucking reason I don't understand, the schools are doing some other kind of introductions and indoctrination for the children, and all these topics are on the news, are on the social media, are on the topic of discussions all around, and that information is seeping through your brain, and the brain being so against it and so diehard heterosexual, it 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 triggers its defense mechanism, your amygdala being very protective of you, of the most important thing for you, which is your sexuality, everyone's sexuality, and it becomes overactive and tries to alarm you and goes into a havoc of creating all these fictitious yet seemingly frightening and concerning thoughts that it's constantly creating, which then you think it must pertain you because it's in your head. No, it's just the way so much shit is out there, and the brain is becoming aware of it and is making thoughts, especially that is trying to alarm you of what you're not interested, so makes a big deal out of it, and then you become more overactive. Your amygdala is more overactive, and you become more sensitive toward protecting yourself, and whatever you're more sensitive to protect yourself, the brain pays more attention to it and creates more of that scenario, and that becomes the routine and the tone of the day in your thoughts and activities of the brain, when especially is going through OCD subsets and ends up with all these hoopla that creates and insecurities that you may think, as you say, I never thought I would question my sexuality. You're not questioning it. You're actually dealing with the nonsense that overly is being exposed to the world. For what reason? for exactly same reason that you can see the effect of it. They're trying to confuse people and try to get their agenda going, whatever the fuck that is. All right. Now, Alexander Orid is here. Says Alex, male 35, Macedonia. Hi, Mehran. How are you? Thank you, there. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate that. And Alexander says, I watch a video of Jeffrey Schwartz, you have recommended me, before Neuroscience of Habits. He says self-positive affirmation can change bad habits in brain. Yes, that's true. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. I used to watch his lectures quite a bit. And that was the beginning, actually, of my research. And then, of course, whatever else I could find. Alexander Orit says, can you explain, please, how to handle bad or fearful emotions, how to deal with them? Well, fearful emotions, we're talking about the key word there, fear. In order to deal with that, you got to understand, where does fear come from? And I have videos on what is fear, where does it come from? And really, if we focus, all of us, on this topic, there is really no fear. There is no such thing as fear. However, that feeling and emotion of being frightened and fear, other than wild animal attacking you, or a truck is about to hit, or you're in a war and it's a shooting match, and that fear, I'm not talking about that fear. We're talking about psychological fear. Such fear is really created when you compare times, when you compare what it was in your memory to what it is and what it could be. You create time. When you think about an orange tree in my uncle's house, had big yellow oranges, and this tree here, you just created time. But when you think about the orange tree in my uncle's house was hit by locusts or some kind of a fungus of whatever, and the whole orchard or the whole trees were all destroyed, and the trees died, and then you compare to, what if that happens to the tree that I have in my home? So you compared what it was to what it is and what it could be. That has happened to what Uncle's orange trees were. It was devastating. The whole town was devastated. All the fruit trees were died. And I have fruit trees and orchard here. What if that happens to this, and then where it's going to be? Now you created fear. But otherwise, if you live in the moment, in the present moment, and don't allow yourself to travel back into the past, into the memory, in other words, travel back to the dead zone, because memory is the past, past is dead, doesn't exist. So you go into the dead zone, and something that happened there, you projected that, what if it happens here and what it will be? Now you created fear. But if you don't go to the past and you're just in the moment and you look at the tree and enjoy how wonderful the oranges are, and if you stay with the moment, in the very moment, there is no fear. If you don't compare what it was to what it is to what it could be, at the moment, unless there is a war happening, or unless a truck is about to hit me, or a wild animal to jump at me, there is no physical fear, or there is no fearful happening. So when you focus on that emotional fear, which I don't know exactly what it is because you didn't explain it, you figure out, why am I actually having that emotion? Because Nothing has happened here, but I'm afraid that something might happen. That's where the fear is. Because we're all seeking security, psychological security. And when there is a doubtful imagination about what if this that is tranquil and wonderful now, which I love so much, and with whatever you love, there is a fear of losing it. So at that moment that you're really enjoying your moment, you also suddenly are fearful of losing it. That's the beginning of the fear. And when you compare it to something that happened in the past in one of those romantic or emotional situations, then you think, what if it happens to this romantic emotional situation that I have right here? And you get fearful. Otherwise, this present example by itself hasn't shown any malice, hasn't shown any reason for you to be fearful, but you always compare to how the others turned out to be, the other situations. And what if this that you're impatiently waiting, I don't know, for the girl to call you or whatever it is that you're talking about, some emotional, and if it's not happening, she hasn't called yet, you project out what happened in the previous relationships to this one, and you start getting fearful, emotionally fearful, if that's what you mean. So once you stay in the moment, the present on that particular situation and let it unfold by itself rather than attributing the past experiences to what this is or happening, or try to translate the happening for yourself based on some other information you have in your memory, then that's where the fear, emotional fear happens. So the best thing to do is stay in the moment, let's see how things unfold, and you make judgment on that basis once they happen. Okay, I hope that helps you out a bit. Yeah, Miyamoto, that is exactly what you said. It's just negative thoughts. And you got to understand, negative thoughts are not actuality. Negative thoughts are concern and bringing fearful emotions for the possibility of something that is undesirable to happen. But it hasn't happened, and it can't happen unless you allow it. So you are the ultimate power. All your fears are because you think there's something else that can make you do something, but there's nothing else can make you do anything, because you and only your awareness is the only one that could allow anything, thought, suggestions, images, other people's thoughts and suggestions, your brain's thoughts and suggestions could ever become an actuality in real life. Only you. So ultimate power is within your ability and power in choices and vetoes. It doesn't matter how many people come and say, hey, can I fuck you? I always say, fuck you. I have choices and vetoes. I veto. Doesn't happen. So it doesn't matter how many thoughts or intrusive thoughts show up, because that's a thought. But you are the actual power to allow anything or not allow anything to ever become an actuality. I could think of having this tea a million times when I'm looking at it, but only when I think it's time, or I allow it, I'm finished talking or have a moment, then I command to this thought of something wonderful, drinking tea, to happen. But unless I allow it, choose to allow the motoring of these suggestions take place, it won't happen. Doesn't matter how many times comes to my mind that I should drink that tea. Let alone if it's something that it's not desirable and it's not in line with my values and I don't want to do it, it's not part of my character, it's not part of my preferences. Then that means I just simply have to deal and understand how to manage intrusive thoughts rather than worrying about it. What if I allow it to happen? What the fuck would I allow it to happen? How could it happen? Huh? How? 1,000 people come and tell me, give me $1,000. So fuck you all. I don't have $1,000. And even if I did it, I wouldn't give it to you. Let alone if they ask for my ass. Anyhow, that's how I think. But the ones who think differently, good for them. I'm not judging anybody who happen to have different inclination. I'm talking about me. And you can talk about, and it's okay to talk about it. So I don't have to be so fucking pleasant about everybody else's preferences. I can respect their preferences for themselves, but I don't fucking want it for myself. And that's my right. And I'm sticking to it. So the fucking political community is making it as if it's a fucking sin for me to like what I want to like. And I have to condone and celebrate whatever the fuck other people's choices are. I can respect it and do not disrespect it and do not stand in the way. But I'm not going to celebrate something that is not in my choice. Why would I celebrate eating walnut when I don't like walnut? I go eat grapes, tomatoes. You know, why do I have to celebrate other people's preferences? I celebrate nothing. I am who I am, others who are who they are. What's this celebration thing? What for? What's a promotion for? I haven't seen heterosexual day or heterosexual celebrations. What are these parades for? Are we talking about privacy, respect other people's lifestyles? Well, then respect my lifestyle, my children's lifestyle, and don't fucking parade it. Enjoy your life as I enjoy my life. That's a bit that I have to say about it. And I guarantee you, there's so many people just like as good as you and I, they just have different sexual preferences and inclinations. And they do not agree with the shit that is happening here. I don't believe all homosexuals or gay men or women agree with all what these politicians are doing, creating wedge between the sexualities, between heterosexuals and homosexuals, and putting them against each other by introducing these to children and all that. So I don't believe that the gay community is actually in agreement with that. We should be smarter than that. The politicians are trying to create a muddy water, bringing us head to head, making heterosexual and homosexuals against each other, bringing that propaganda to segregate us and separate us so they can rule us. We are all brothers and sisters, and we live the way we live. We respect each other's lifestyle, and we back each other up for what we like. But we are not going to be a toy and ploy in the hands of the politicians and let them bring us against each other by introducing things, that are not the time for children to learn about it. And it's contrary to a proper upbringing of the children, and they will deal with it when it's time for them to deal with it, if they need to deal with it. But indoctrinating, I am 100% sure no homosexual or heterosexual alike would ever condone such behavior and activities of the politicians interfering with the children's lives and mentality at that young age. So let us be smart and not turn against our brothers and sisters of different inclinations. And we all should be smart enough to know that this is a trick to separate us, and we should band together and stay with the moralities and what's good for the children and live them and let them to be children rather than a toy and a puppet in the hands of the politicians. All right, having said that, move on to Tan Jacob says hi. Hello, Tan. Steven says hi, Maron. Hello, Steven. Male 42, Los Angeles. Hello there. And Miyamoto says these days many negative. Okay, we talk about that. Steven says, I wake up each morning missing how things were. Well, this is the old story, Steven. You keep repeating this and enforcing this to be this way. The reason you wake up is because you constantly, all day long, you entertain these thoughts of having missed your girlfriend. But why are you still calling that a relationship that was desirable when you know the ending already, that it's undesirable and it didn't work out? Why do you want a relationship that proved to you that is not working out to work out? This was the ending of it, how it actually progressed and developed into something that ended up being a breakup. Why do you want to be with the same girl that actually had the chance to be with you, but it ended up to a breakup? Why do you think this that ended up in breakup, meaning you know the end of it, would succeed in the second time if it gets back to where it was? Well, it's going to travel the same journey, it's going to break up again because she is not suitable partner for you. Why do you think something that is not suitable for you is suitable? Why? You need to understand that your expectations from yourself is unreasonable. Your thought pattern on this thing is unreasonable. It's nothing to write home about that girl. As I said before, neither her looks or her manners or the way she paid attention to you, not periodically, all that bullshit. Don't sell yourself short and fall for the couple of dinners and couple of some things that she prepared for you or cuddle you. What the fuck is that? Why is you guys' expectations are so low from women these days? That's why you're dealing with all kind of shitty women all around, because they don't feel that they have to measure up to anything higher. All they have to do is just show a little bit of an ass and that's it. But what about mentality? What about partnership? What about accountability? What about reasonability? What about responsibility? What about manners, morals? What about this? If you fuckheads don't expect that, then that's the kind of women we have today. Mostly fucked up. Some are still good, hard to find. Because your expectations are so low, they don't have to do anything anymore. In the old times, ladies were ladies. Managers of a house, manager if they're working outside, educated, competent, great mothers, great wives, supporters, friends, confidants, all kinds of abilities and educations and expertise they had all together, all women. Today, they're just ass. And you expect nothing else, just some ass so you can tell your guy friends, see, I've got a trophy on my arm. Fuck you on with your expectations. That's what this society has turned out to be. We comply and bend over backward just for the piece of ass. You expect nothing. That's why you get the kind of woman that offer nothing. And you just accept it. Same shit with you right now, Stephen. You expect nothing, just a piece of ass. So you won't be lonely. That's your criteria. The fact that I won't be lonely, it's good enough for me to take any shit and then pound on it in my head all day long to fuck up my job and fuck up everything else for a piece of ass. What else is she bringing to your life? What psychological security has she brought other than this ups and down? She wants this, she wants that. And are we supposed to run for that little hole all our life just to get some, regardless of what the fuck they're doing, how they're treating you? If that's what you expect from you, then you're going to go down the hill and get more and more fucked up and depressed until you're going to die. If you don't want that ending, get off your ass and stop entertaining the memory of her as she was an angel. She wasn't. Your expectations were so low that she met it, and now you think your expectations were all met. No, your expectations were low. And even in that low, your expectations were met a few times with her. But as soon as shit hit the fan, things became a little bit maybe more high standard. She couldn't weather it. Why do you want her back? Are you nuts? Have some respect for yourself. That's all I have to say about that. And Chanchal Bhatnagar, I hope I didn't butcher the name, says, Hi Mehran, how are you? Just want to say thank you. You helped me a lot during my most difficult times of my life. Delighted to hear that. Thank you for sharing. The HOCD man says, Mehran, does porn addiction have anything related to HOCD? Well, imagine if you constantly see dick and pussy, fucking and fucking, pussy, pussy, dick and dick. While you're seeing all that, which you're interested to see the girl is getting fucked, that turns you on, but you're also seeing the guy is fucking. So these bodies are connected in association of the concept of sex. So every time now you see the man's body or a dick, it arouses you possibly to some of you, not because you like the man's body, it's because it's in the brain in a nanosecond is associated with it's fucking a girl. And that arousal misleads you to think, oh, I'm turning bi or gay because I like that. No, that's an association that the brain makes because you constantly fed these pictures together unconsciously all the time. Watching porn, watching porn, watching porn. Because then you also will introduce to yourself the state of envy that that girl that you like to fuck in that movie you're watching is being fucked by another man, which to you, that man becomes alpha because he's getting what you're not getting. He's getting what you don't want. She prefers him. You don't realize this is a picture. In your brain, it is a choice that that woman has made not to give it to you, give it to him. Even though it's a movie, but you don't process that. You just process that he's an alpha, I'm not. Because he's getting what I want. The girl has preferred him. Pretty much anytime you pass by in an OCD glitch, when you see a man and woman walking, suddenly you think that man is more valuable than you because he is preferred by a woman. There's a woman beside him, which makes you feel like you're envying or you're a second-rated man because you don't have a woman beside you, unless you're with your girlfriend. All these mental images and emotional feelings about being the top dog and not having the woman, somebody else is fucking the woman that you're watching, that means he's alpha, you're not. That brings you a little bit feeling of inferiority. And that feeling of inferiority makes that male seem he's more man than you are. And the rest of it will play in the negative mind. And you end up thinking all that HOCD, so on and so forth. It starts from any of these scenarios. At least, some of them have a lot to do with it. And of course, the rest of it I've explained in other videos, the glitch of the brain, which is the major one. It doesn't always have anything to do with the porn, but when you get so much addicted to porn, eventually that dick becomes to you a better dick than yours because it's getting the pussies and you're not. That's going to play with your head. And that envy and inferiority and so on, the beginning of the feeling of that they're more man than you are, you're less man than they are, and the rest of it, the brain glitch of OCD takes it on. Novak says, what to do to teach the brain to respond with reactions that agree with your belief values is even possible to see, but you're going the wrong way. You're trying to respond in a way to negative thoughts or intrusive thoughts that would agree to your values. That's a long way. Instead, you need to understand the 4 steps of Dr. Schwartz, which is how to deal and react to intrusive thoughts when they appear, to make it automatic for your brain to, after a while, without any plan or any attention, to deal with these thoughts as they show up automatically per the 4 steps, and automatically manage dissing it by acknowledging it and then downplaying it by not giving it any attention that it's seeking, and that not giving the attention that it's seeking and transferring your attention after acknowledging the intrusiveness of the nature of the thought to some positive action, and then switching the energy and the focus from the intrusive thoughts to the positive energy, which is actually the refocusing stage of the 4 steps of Dr. Schwartz. And then the brain will do the rest by reevaluating when these thoughts show up. And automatically, after a while, it does the first, second, third, 4th step, relabel, reframe, refocus, and revalue, all of them together automatically. So you need to do that rather than trying to replace with your values. Replacing your values to this intrusive thought still having a confrontation attitude between the thoughts, and keeps the intrusive thought in there because you're trying to defeat it. And there is nothing physical to realize that you've defeated it because you're against that intrusive thought. And because there's nothing physical for you to see that you've accomplished your battle and you defeated the intrusive thought, you will constantly redo it every time it shows up. So in fact, you end up giving more chances to intrusive thought to become automatically programmed to continue, rather than causing a situation where when it shows up, your treatment will cause it become less encouraged to be showing up. And after a while, it'll just diminish its activities because you're not giving it the attention that it needs to survive. And after a while, it just doesn't make any reaction to your body, to your brain, as far as interacting with it. So it just dies down and dials down these intrusive thoughts because it sees you're not playing with it, you're not paying attention to it, and you've automatically relabeled it, reframed it, refocused your thought, and then revalued. So there's no value for it, so it won't come up because it knows automatically the 4 process takes place and just it's ignored. So that's what I recommend for you to do. Of course, you choose to do it or not. I just did, Miyamoto. I didn't read your question, but I just did. And you need to watch that video that I have on Dr. Schwartz, the 4 steps. So that will explain more. In here, it will be another half an hour talking about it. Anchor Bohra says, thank you so much. You're quite welcome. Adam says, having HOCD is starting to make me angry. I have these thoughts. I get angry with myself, start playing out a scenario in my head where I give into the thoughts, start acting camp, and I feel so angry. Because you start thinking that you give to these thoughts because you're seeking assurance. You want to see it through. You think that if I go through the scenario that started these intrusive thoughts, it will end, and at the end there is a end button, stop button that will stop these thoughts. That's why you go through it. And at the same time, you want to prove to yourself that I'm brave, nothing happens to me. I seek assurance and I can go through it and imagine every shitty thing that you want to imagine. I can imagine nothing happens to me. Well, these are your thought patterns, your motivation. But when you keep doing it, a few times you go beyond that intrusive thought, you go make it worse to actually tell yourself that, I don't give a shit, and that's fine. But if you keep doing it, you're constantly making this to be more appearing in your head because you're conditioning your brain to keep thinking about it. You want to condition your brain that I don't give a damn about what you're suggesting. I don't pay attention to it. That's a different way of dealing with it than constantly thinking through it and they get angry about it. You go through it because you want to prove to yourself that you're okay, seeking assurance. You don't need assurance. Give it up. I don't give a shit about assuring myself. I am who I am and nothing can change me because that's my preference. That's my decision. That's my inclination. And I'm protecting that. And I don't need to prove anything or assured of anything. I am what I've born and I will like this till I die. And no matter what suggestions of others or people who actually want to fuck me or my brain, I'm not going to change that. I'm going to protect myself. It's up to me, my choices and my veto. So therefore, I have no fear. Let the thoughts come. I don't care. I allow thoughts to exist. Any thoughts. Somebody fucking my ass. I'm fucking somebody's. I don't give a shit because these are thoughts. I let the thoughts exist, but I don't have to approve of them. But I approve that thoughts can exist. I don't stop resisting thoughts and stopping thoughts. That's giving more attention to these thoughts to actually push further through. But I take the pressure off, say, all thoughts can exist. Come on, all of you. And I can't think of all of them at the same time. So let them be. I just select the ones that it's going to do me good in life, what I want to accomplish, and so on and so forth. Look, when you resist the thought, there will be a pushback. Try this. Push your hand against the wall. As long as you're putting your hand on the wall, touching, nothing happens. But as soon as you start pushing the wall is going to push back on your hand. You will feel the resistance. But so the best thing for these things is to allow thoughts to be there instead of trying to stop them, pressing them, destroying them. Imagine that I'm burning them, I'm bombing them, I'm destroying them, I'm chopping them, and just don't give a shit. Allow thoughts to exist. They can exist. There's thoughts. While you're filtering your thoughts here, aren't there other thoughts in other people's heads and other things happening, lifestyle in the world? We allow everything that happens in the world to happen. Doesn't concern me. Same thing. I'm not going to stop thoughts. These thoughts are in existence in so many other people's heads or lifestyles. So stopping a thought is like trying to stop the happenings that you're not in line with those values. We don't. We live our lives even though there's so many other things that we don't like and we don't agree with are happening in the world, isn't it? We allow them to do what they want to do. We do what we want to do. Same thing with the brain. Mixed thoughts, allow thoughts to exist, but we choose and use our brain for what we want to accomplish. We don't have to follow the thoughts. Thoughts are not actuality and reality. They're in the world of virtuality. Let them be. You're not in virtuality. You're here. So allow thoughts to exist, but I don't have anything to do with them. I allow every lifestyle and everybody else's their thoughts and intentions to exist. I don't have anything to do with them. I have my own way in this universe. I allow thoughts to exist. I don't have to stop anything. I just use the thoughts that I want and in line with my values. That's how you deal with these things, other than trying to get angry and stopping and seeking for assurance that I'm perfect. I'm this. We're all perfect, and nobody is. But we are perfect by being imperfect. That's what perfection means. Otherwise, what's perfect? The way the world is going, all full of shit. All these globalists and all these WEF and all that shit. What's going on? We need to find our way and have our own lifestyle and stick with it and protect it. And don't worry about whatever else is happening. It's up to every individual. And when it becomes something very serious for all of us, such as you know, the world going to hell, then we all band together regardless of our inclination, and we try to prevail and bring peace and tranquility in this world. Live and let live is the motto. So let the thoughts come, but your choices and vetoes rules your life, not the thoughts and their existence or their qualities. They're thoughts. You're not the brain. Brain is not you. You're not thoughts. Thoughts are not you. So who gives a shit? You train your brain in that way, not trying to destroy it or get assurance and get angry and all. All right. Yes, I know that's what you want to do, Stephen, but just do it. You know how? By not focusing on it, but focusing on life. Build something else, meet somebody else, do your work. Condition yourself that way. What you're doing, you're conditioning yourself to keep thinking about this girl. What? What? She got to get up and put all that makeup on and go shit and do all the things. What's so angelic about fuck? Get off your ass. Stop thinking about the pleasantry moments. The pleasantry moments is gone. If it was anything solid and valuable and lasting, it would be still there. Obviously, temporary is bullshit. Although everything is temporary in this world, but that part of temporary of a temporary relationship just was a temporary moment. You're not supposed to think of it, oh, that's how everything was. Why are you thinking about only the parts that was okay? Why don't you focus on the part that fucked it up? That's the reality. You're selecting only the okay ones? Stupid. Let me see. I need a little bit more green here. There we go. All right. Now, so where are we? I got a headache, you fucking guys, with all your stupidities pissing me off. All right. Yeah, Miyamoto, you see, you're trying to see the difference and find the difference. I'm saying let all thoughts exist. The only thing you have to do is just live by your choices and vetoes. You don't have to see that is this real or not real. Doesn't matter what it is, real or not real. If it's not in line with your values, then it's worth nothing. Bye. That's not going to be chosen. That's going to be vetoed. So all you have to do is not to analyze why it's here. I got to get assurance. Oh, this showed up. Oh, it means this. No. Let the thoughts be. All you have to do is that veto or choices. It's against my values. Veto. Oh, it's good for me. It's orange. I like orange. Okay, choices, vetoes, and choices. That's all. It's simpler than anything else you think. Oh, this showed up. So now I got to test myself. Take assurance. I got to watch something. I got to see somebody's fucking somebody else and the same gender. So I got to see how I feel. All of that fucking bullshit. There's always going to be association of sex of any naked body. It doesn't matter what gender. And it could trigger or make you think and thought about something. Oh, now I thought of this because I saw that one. So that means I'm gay. That means I'm different. No, fuck it. None of that. It's all normal. What you need to know is only what I'm going to choose, what I'm going to veto. That's all. In other words, thoughts show up, whatever. I'm not going to examine it, interpret it, test it, get assurances. Oh, did it affect me? Does it mean something? No. I'm just going to say, that's nasty. It's not in line with my values. Vetoed. Go on. I'm not paying attention to it because I've trained my brain to simply 4 steps to, at the beginning, not pay attention to it. That's not in line with my values. So I go on, do something positive. So my brain learns to how reevaluate these things, and then it automatically takes place. Not to analyze every thought that shows up. It's not in line with my value, I veto. Not good for me, not interested. I'm not going to analyze it, interact with it. Not interested. Gone. What are you going to see if you see something on the street that you don't like? It's a shit, dog shit. Okay, what are you going to say? Oh, it's dog shit. I'm not interested. But let me analyze it. Let me just stick and taste it and see. Let me just take it to the laboratory and see what. Who cares? You already decided that's not within your values. You're not interested. Not interested, pass by. Why do you have to analyze something that you're not interested? If a thought shows up, intrusive thoughts, and you say, "Oh my goodness, that's not. I don't like that." But yet, let me see how assured I am. So I got to see it through. I got to imagine it more. These things we do at the beginning because we don't know better. But once you learn that these are thoughts, say, "Okay, that's not in line with my values. Okay, bye bye. I move on to my next whatever it is I'm doing." Like you see the turd in the street. That's not something I want to be nearby. So I don't want to sniff it. I don't want to see it. So thank you. I'm not going to analyze it and then dissect it. I'm just going to say, okay, I recognize that's not within my values. I go. Choices and vetoes. That's all. See, that's your problem, Stephen. You say, I wish things can just go back to how they were, which gets me depressed. That's your problem. You got to say, I don't fucking want this to ever go back to how things were, because that's the end of it. And that's the kind of girl that she really is. That would have been a mistake for me to have even spent that time that I did with her, because I didn't know her well, because now I know. And now that I know, I don't want any of that has happened. I want to now find somebody else and see if I can have something wonderful with her that could also be including me knowing how and who she really was. Not to go through, waste my time, and at the end find out, holy fuck, that was all just not in line with the kind of a relationship that I was looking for. So stop this whole business of, I wish how things were, how they used to be. No, you don't wish it with this girl. That's the point. That's where you're fucking up. You keep wishing things to be how it was with this girl. Say, no, I want some good relationship with some other girl. I don't want anything to do with this girl. No more. I don't care how good it was at one time and how shitty it is now. Now that I know how it ended up and who she is, how she is, I don't want to have anything to do with her. Whether it was good times or bad times, just don't want to fucking be near her. That's a different way of thinking. That's a beginning. And Nelsie, male 25, Germany, guten Tag. Wie geht's heute? Must be, or wie geht's? Wie geht's Abend? Guten Abend. So I have toxic colleagues in work. My contract will end in 2 months, but my patience has already ended. Bad mouthing, mocking, talking badly in my back. Any advice, please? Yeah, they're talking in your back, right? That means they don't have the guts to say it in your face. That means they're just simply weak-minded pieces of shit. You think people don't talk in my back? I've got enemies. It's not like I have to expect everybody to love me. It's normal behavior of a human psyche. Out of their own fear and shortcomings, the way they can rise and or elevate themselves is not always by their own merits and abilities and positive structure and continuous building of their morals and manners and lifestyle. Most people don't have the talent of building something in their lives and making themselves better to elevate themselves. So they go by the easier way, which is mocking, making fun, trying to chisel, knock, and be obnoxious and destroy in their mind other people because they don't have the ability to build. So, to be the tallest building in town, since they don't have the ability to build high and up, they destroy other buildings so their building look high. That's it. That's sad. They're fucked up. Those people who do these kind of making, mocking, or funning and on doing shit behind your back are the people who cannot build their life, and their survival and value depends on how many other people they can make fun of and feel good about themselves, because there's no other way they can feel good about themselves. In fact, they're the weaker one, not the one who's being mocked. That means they're afraid of you. That means you have something that they cannot measure up. So what do? They try to diminish you by realizing that they can't do anything about themselves to elevate themselves. Let's destroy him. Maybe we'll look bigger. So for that reason, you should be actually pretty complimenting yourself that these fuckers are so fearful. 2 months, you simply ignore the shit, just like you ignore when you see a dog shit on the street. You see it, walk by. You don't say, oh, that dog shit was sending bad smell to me, so I have to now go step on it and teach him a lesson. No, step on it, you get shitty shoes. What do you do with that? You just see the dog shit, smells like shit, you walk by. You don't pay attention to it. Same thing. These guys are shit. You don't mingle with them or try to, exchange things with them. You ignore them because their value is just any lower than dog shit. Because at least dog shit is some kind of a maybe fertilizer for some. There is a world out there. We all have created a world within this world in our consciousness. And the consciousness shapes our world with the inclusion of all these people that we're in contact with, our jobs, our families, friends, our needs. And when one of these components, family, friends, jobs, whatever, people, betray us or they don't live up to the standards that we expect, we try to strive to fix them so we will have our world complete with us being a star in it and everybody like us. But that's a misconception that this is the world. This is not the entirety of the world. This is a fragment of the world out there. So instead of spending your time and suffering about the bullshit of these people in your world, in your consciousness, few people around you, look up and see there is a world out there far bigger than this, what you have created in your consciousness. And there's so many other people and opportunities and companies and friends and sociable possibilities and so on, that this world is so small and these people in this small world are so small that it's really inconsequential to you if you simply look at the bigger picture, which is the world out there. And there's so much in there that these things just don't worth a shit. And they don't make your world. They're just a minuscule of the real world. But unfortunately, you have made this, what you've created in your consciousness, few people around your job and all that, to be your entirety of the world. It doesn't represent the entirety of the world. There's a far superior, bigger universe out there with so much opportunities and things out there. So these things should not become your entire world to affect you in a way that the entire world would do. These people are just nothing created in this small consciousness of yours, thinking this is the whole world. They're nothing. They're turds. They're just pieces of useless things that you're paying so much attention. Look, life is an illusion. The illusion you focus on becomes your reality. These pieces of shit are nothing. But because you focus on them so much, thinking that they are actually the participants in your entirety of the world, you think they're important. But if when you see that the world that you've created in your consciousness is just a fragment of the actual world out there, and these people are a fragment in your small, fragmented world in your consciousness, then you'll see they're actually worth nothing to worry about. They're inconsequential to you. Just move on, focus on the bigger opportunity, finish the 2 months, and move on, and good riddance. Fuck them. Hope that will help you. Nelsie. All right, guys, I've been here an hour and 17 minutes, and I have a... Oh, okay. Let's see if I can maybe answer a couple more questions here. Rahamathi Khan says, in my lifetime, never felt men attractive, but in HOCD it feels real. Yeah, I know. It's an HOCD, so don't worry about it. Yeah, you don't have to give assurance to yourself that I love women since I'm 3 years old. You don't need to. Just choices and vetoes. Doesn't matter. Choices and vetoes. Look. I like food, but I don't like all kind of food. So when I see a food that I don't like, I veto. That's all. I don't say, oh, this food should have never been on the table. Fuck it. It's there. Okay, part of the thing. But as soon as I notice it's not in line with my values and my taste, though, I veto it. That's it. Everything exists in this world, and I allow everything to exist. But I live by my choices and vetoes, so it doesn't matter. Intrusive thoughts comes in, suggestions comes in, something feels this and something feels that. If it's not in line with my value, I don't choose it, I veto it, I move on. Don't have to worry about assuring myself or convincing myself, I've been this all my life, I don't need to. I am who I am, and I know my preferences, and I don't give a shit about things that are not my preferences. And whether other people say or my brain says, I just veto it. Simple. Miyamoto, stop this bullshit. I explained to you exactly, if you keep thinking about these things, so they have more chance of constantly being there. So the key is understand how to ignore them, recognize what they are, and then relabel them, revalue them, relabel them, reframe them, refocus, and then your brain revalues. And after a while, they show less and less. And even if they show up, you don't give a shit anymore because you've become really knowledgeable of what this is. And when you know it's HOCD, when you know what HOCD is all about, how it operates, then it doesn't bother you when they show up. You say, well, that's another thing. Like when I walk in the street, I see a dog shit. Okay, that's another thing in the nature. But just because it's in nature doesn't mean it's going to be me, or I'm going to be me. I'm going to one day like it. When I see the turd, I'm going to bend down and start eating it. No, I just recognize that shit again. Okay, that's another shit again. Okay, fine. To each his own. Some people are homosexuals and that's what they want, and they don't like heterosexuals necessarily. The thoughts of it, intrusive thoughts for them is heterosexuality. And some people like us are heterosexual, and then homosexual thoughts and intrusive thoughts are intrusive to them, and therefore they should deal with it as they see fit. It doesn't have to be politically correct that, oh, I should be tolerant of this. No, this is thoughts. You simply deal with it like you deal with the third shit. You said, okay, that's shit. I recognize it. I don't like it. I pass by. I don't have to analyze it. I don't have to respect it. I say, I allow thoughts to be there. I understand and accept that shit can be in the street, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm not going to be bending down and sucking on it just because it's in the street, because it's disrespectful. Or no, I don't care. For me, I don't like dog shit. Gone. The ones who like it, not a problem. None of my business. That's how you think. But you don't have to worry about it. Why is it there? Well, it's there. It's part of things that exist in the universe, exist in the street, exist in the head. Thoughts can be anywhere, but they have no meaning. Don't make meaning. Don't give it meaning. It's a thought. 80, 90 thoughts 1,000 thoughts a day. So this one of them happens to be intrusive, not in line with your values. So okay, then gone. Next. But allow thoughts to exist. They can exist, but it doesn't bother me. It's a thought. It's annoying. I understand that because we are so perfectionist that I'm a heterosexual, I'm a top dog, and that these thoughts these are thoughts, will not do anything to you as far as you become less of an alpha, less of a man, because these thoughts show. No, just understand these thoughts and the glitch of the brain. Brain is a apparatus in the making. It's not a perfect brain. It's got glitches, it's got problems. It's an organ. It malfunctions like any other organ. So this is one of its things. So you understand that it doesn't change you. It doesn't diminish you. It just tells you that you got to learn that this organ also malfunctions and how to deal with it, just like any other part of us. Our knee hurts, our, I don't know, kidney needs more water, all these things. We deal with it. We got to learn it and deal with it. And this is the brain shit. So no big deal. And Chinmay, oh yeah, it's a long and old name. Chinmay Adangale says, long time, Mehran sir. In 2019, I was 17 and lost. Now in 2003, I've tried to let go of the bad habits and the irrational mindset. However, at times, I still find myself dwelling on the past. She got with a guy from Indonesia later. Now she's working a job and life is fine for her. She doesn't even acknowledge me. She doesn't have to. Why should you acknowledge her? You are seeing her with the eye of your need. If you don't see her with the eye of your need, then she is really nothing to you. Why should she have any extraordinary values to you? It's your memory that is giving and projecting itself onto her who she is now. But her behavior and the fact that she doesn't acknowledge you and anything, that shouldn't give her any special value in your mind. So you should move on and find some new friend. As long as you hang around the old corner, you will only find what is in the old corner. Change your place and hang around to another corner, you'll find new things. As long as you keep thinking about the memory of her, you won't be able to actually see all the amazing things that are out there, and you think that her attention to you should be important. No, why? She was with you for a while, then she changed her mind, or whatever the fuck the reason was, doesn't matter. She's not there, so therefore she doesn't deserve your attention anymore. Why you still give her attention? Give her attention to someone who deserves it and someone who's going to be for you. That's all. Be a little bit, love yourself a little bit. Chimney says, by the way, sir, quick life update. I've graduated. Good for you. That's what I like to hear. And I plan to pursue further education. Good for you. Thank you for guiding me, guiding my lost soul with no one else did. When no one else did. Well, I'm delighted that our conversations were fruitful to you. Delighted what you've accomplished. I'm disappointed that you haven't let go of that piece of shit. Anything that is not for you is not worth your attention. Remember what my father, he said, if this wheel doesn't turn for me, I don't care if it turns at all. So I don't care how beautiful she was and how wonderful the time was. If she doesn't click for you now, if she doesn't run for you now, if she doesn't look at you now, I don't give a fuck how pretty she is. That's not for me. I'm looking at someone, paying my attention and respect to someone who's actually thinking of me, giving me values. So stop giving her any. It is you who give her value by your attention of your memory towards her. She on her own has no value. You're the source of her importance and value. You are, your attention, your desire for her is what makes her important. On her own, she hasn't accomplished anything amazing in the world to deserve your attention so much. So get that need out and understand that it is not you who want it. It's your need that gives her importance. Take that need away. Give it to somebody else. You'll be fine. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Tamer says, what do you think about psychoanalysis, which views human psychology negatively? I don't give a fuck about that. I don't even understand. You don't have to go that far. Just understand your own psyche and try to, help it out and to bring it to a level that is going to serve you well. That's all. Miyamata says, almost 1 a.m. here. Time to sleep. Thank you, Mary. You're quite welcome. Steven says, my mental toughness isn't what it should be. Well, then make it tough. Now that you realized it, that's where your glitch is. Make it tough by proper behavior toward these feelings, needs, and all that bullshit. Yeah? All right. Okay, everybody, we've discovered, we've exhausted our time here, I believe. Answered everyone's question as best as I could in the short time. 1 hour, 28 minutes. It's time for me to say I love you all. Thank you very much for being here, giving the opportunity to share a thing or two with you. In the meantime, I look forward to our next live stream. And Exam says, hello, sir. I'm a guy, 28. I'm having trouble because I betrayed myself. You betrayed yourself? Well, I'm not sure what that means, but it's time for us to go. You can go on my site. Remember, guys, I have a site, mindthatseekstruth.com. Mindthatseekstruth.com. www.mindthatseekstruth.com. You can go on that site, make an appointment for a Skype consultation with me if you need to talk to me on whatever subject it may be: thoughts, consciousness, fear, desire, ego, your breakups, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, OCD, OCD subsets, HOCD, whatnot, intrusive thoughts, repetitive thoughts. We'll talk about it together, explore it together, one-on-one on Skype. It's now time for me to say I love you all. Thank you very much for being here, giving the opportunity to share a thing or two with you. I look forward to our next live stream. In the meantime, be good to yourself and to the others. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Subscribe on my channel, visit my channel, and go through the videos that you might be interested in. Mindthatseekstruth.com is making it one step away to talk to me one-on-one on Skype and discuss what's concerning you. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, we too, like the iceberg, have 1,000 times bigger powers that is not visible, and we must. Why? Is it something we're rambling on and I expect you to accept it? Or is there actually another power within us? Would you come and help me out? Okay. What I want you to do is put your hands underneath my arms and just lift me up. There we go. Okay, now, that's my physical part, right? Same thing, again, with that. Just want to see if there's any difference. Go ahead. Now, go ahead. Now, this, go ahead, when you're ready.
Go ahead.
So you see, this is different than what he was doing, and I'm not really doing anything. You convinced?
Yeah.
So are you guys convinced that there is something other than, thank you. Thank you very much.